Hello guys! By the end of this video, you will hopefully know the difference between communism, capitalism, and everything in between. So without further ado, let's get into it. To know what capitalism is, at least in the Marxist sense, you have to know the classes within capitalism. So for that, I'm going to draw a pyramid. And in Marxism, there's two major classes: the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The high guys and the low guys. But what we'll be focusing on is how the high guys got that much wealth. How did they achieve such status within this capitalist society? This right here is most commonly known as the proletariat or the working class. Oh, not 90%, the 99%. So what are the problems within capitalism, right? Starvation, homelessness. But how do we get those problems? Where do those arise from? A lot of capitalists or a lot of bootlickers will tell you that those problems just are random. They happen anywhere, at any time. It doesn't matter the given context of capitalism, because capitalism is the perfect system and the money will trickle down to you someday. But how does capitalism do those things? Capitalism does those things because of a thing called private property. Private property is what allows those people to get so much wealth. Is because they own the factories, they own the farmlands, they own the largest majority of money-making things within society. Money-making things being private property. So that's why communists say they want to abolish private property. It's because they want to make it communal property, where everyone gets what they contribute in the long run of things. But there's this relation, this struggle that happens between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, the 1% and the 99%, the Elon Musks of the world, the Epsteins of the world, and the average day citizen, the exploited of the world, the oppressor and the oppressed. There's this relation that happens between them. It's called class struggle and class warfare. What this happens is because of this thing called exploitation. Exploitation being where one person takes advantage of a larger amount of people in an unfair way, to get something out of it. But in the Marxist sense, exploitation is extracting the surplus value of one's labor in order to gain what's called a profit. The average day workers don't see profit. The 99% don't see profit. But the capitalist class, the Elon Musks of the world, they do see profit because they take it from the workers. Not only that, but they take it from consumers as well. The means of production, this is a poorly drawn factory, is the private property that communists talk about. It is the thing that allows exploitation to happen. So there's people working this factory, right? And what do? But they work all day. They get a bad wage. If they work hard, why do they get a bad wage? If hardworking people aren't rewarded in society, why is that? It's because there's someone who owns this. Ownership is a justification for exploitation. Ownership is a justification for taking money or taking surplus value away from one's labor. When you work for someone, you are exploited because they have to make a profit while doing nothing. Where does that money come from? It doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It comes from the workers. What is capitalism? What is free enterprise focused around? It's focused around profit. So that's what the capitalist class wants to do. That's what the rulers want to do. They want to profit. But how do you profit unless you take someone else's wealth in some indirect way called exploitation? But what does it mean when a system is centered around profit and not human need? That comes the extreme problems we see with capitalism, is people don't care. The ruling class doesn't care if the 99% are living in poverty. They don't care about starvation or homelessness. Like, look at Elon Musk. He had the opportunity to give everyone in America a house. Well, at least the homeless people in America, a house. But he chooses not to. And we need to fix the systematic problems with that system to where people can't just choose not to give people homes. Because there is plenty of basic needs. We have an abundance of basic needs. They're owned by the people who want profit, right? And they're not owned by everyone. You can ask a capitalist if he wants water to be a human right, and he'll answer no. He'll answer he thinks water should be private property. You should ask a capitalist if he wants schooling to be standardized so that it benefits everyone. He'll say no. He wants it to be private. He wants every aspect of life to be privatized to benefit him. Oh, but capitalism is competition, right? The two companies compete for a better product, right? That is also a common misconception, a very, very common misconception. And that's why a lot of people think that we still need capitalism while just reforming capitalism. Well, that's not true. Companies compete for a better profit. And what's the goal of a competition but to win that competition and install a monopoly? And we're already seeing monopolies pop up. BlackRock, Disney, they just establish large monopolies and then just give smaller brands focused on tinier products different names. They give them different names and it makes it seem like you're buying a different product, but it's majorly owned by Amazon or some large corporation. I wonder if I'm going to get my video taken down for bad talking Amazon. So why is Africa poor? Horrible drawing of Africa. It's poor because there's a lot of labor and there's a lot of resources in Africa. And those resources are foreignly owned. They're private property. Instead of being used to help the African people, they're used to help someone else far away. So now we understand capitalism. You live in capitalism. You live in a time where you understand that brain rot, AI slop, misinformation is a product of capitalism. You understand the problems with capitalism. Now it's time to understand communism or socialism. We'll get to both of those things and explain why those things solve the problems and contradictions within capitalism. Now let's explain, before getting into communism, let's explain socialism. Socialism is when the workers overthrow capitalism, attempting to get rid of it, and owning the means of production in the process. It's a transitionary state between capitalism, but one of the key factors in between these transition between capitalism and communism is revolution. And that's what socialism is based off of. It's the workers seizing the means of production, seizing the factories, seizing the things in which it takes to produce, seizing the private property that is held against them by the capitalist class for profit. So we can clearly define socialism as workers owning the means of production. That's our definition for socialism. But what's our definition for communism? Our definition for communism can be simplified down to, as said in the Communist Manifesto, is the abolition of private property. You know, the thing that caused so much problems over in the capitalist side of things. And again, abolishing private property does not mean people live in your house and smell your underwear. But there's also another thing that can define communism is people receive according to their ability and needs. So a very fundamental thing about communism is that your needs are yours. Your needs are met. And this has been a major driver for revolution within communist countries, is because, well, we want our needs. We want food because private property doesn't exactly give us food. And there is plenty of food. There's an overabundance of food, but for some reason, for some dystopian reason, we don't give it to the people who need it. This isn't handouts, this is just survival. Do you want people to live or not? That is the question. But communism also involves a one party, and that frightens some people. Communism and socialism are also defined by something called dictatorship of the proletariat. Ooh! Dictatorship. Scary, right? No, it isn't as scary as you think it is. Because, as we established earlier, the proletariat is the largest majority of people. It's the hard-working people. So a dictatorship of the proletariat could be represented by and through democracy. Think of it as representation for yourself. You are the leading class of the nation because you are the hard worker. You are the working class of the nation. So you are now overthrown. You're on top of the past ruling class. So they turn the pyramid on its head. People who don't work, they have what they need, but the ruling class of the nation is the working class of the nation. This is where that symbol comes from. It's the hammer and the sickle. A sickle is used for, in older, like agrarian times, for harvesting wheat or food. And the hammer is for industrial workers. So the one party is supposed to act as a vanguard party. It's supposed to act as representation for the proletariat. In the past, sometimes it hasn't acted as that. It's become disassociated with the people, and maybe even became the bourgeois at one point. Becoming so disassociated with the people, so separated from the people, to where they become the ruling class, in a sense. And they get all the bourgeois amenities. But an easy way of keeping the party connected with the people and keeping the dictatorship of the proletariat alive is connecting the party with the people. This is where democracy comes in. This is where you vote in a communist of your choice who you think best represents you. And you can join the Communist Party too. Communist parties have historically been very big at the grassroots level. Look at China. But there is a common misconception about communism and about socialism that everything's equal pay. That is also false. Everything is not equal pay within communism and within socialism. Socialism is actually where you get what you contribute. So that has a material want for work. So you get more of what you contribute, right? You work harder and you get more of that sweet goodness we call commodities. No matter who you are, no matter what you've done, your needs are met. I hope that lesson really helped you. Hopefully you can follow, like, and subscribe. See you later. See you anytime. Go get 'em.